Hey everyone, this is going to be a special episode. We are going to be doing a look back at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're going to be looking at the 10 years of Marvel movies that's come out, all the characters, villains, everything that's leading up to Avengers Infinity War, coming out very soon, Thursday, April 26th. But we're going to explore all that and more in episode 33 of the Reel-ists podcast. Team Reel-ists, thanks for listening. I am Oscar.
I'm Donnie.
And we have our producer, Ruben.
Woo.
Who would like to apologize, as we all would, about... I'm just following from last week's follow-up where Donnie assigned blamed. We just want to start off by apologizing for the audio quality of last week's episodes. Not the intention. We did not become aware of it until after the first episode, and we tried to fix it. Didn't work out as we did in the second. Just a breakdown. I know some of you are curious. But no worries. We're not firing Ruben. He's still on board. He's contracted to the end of the year.
He's still with us.
We believe in him. Gave him a fern talk. No more. But we appreciate you guys coming back. And welcome into the special episode of The Road, or not The Road. I'm going to see him changing the name already. A look back at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We are waiting for Avengers Infinity War.
Woo!
It's actually out. If you're listening on the day, Thursday, April 26th, it is out.
It's actually out tonight.
It's going to be out tonight. Pause, go listen to it. But no, actually, no. Wait. After. Listen to it after, because we're not doing any coverage on the movie because we haven't seen it.
Right.
We're not that exclusive yet. We don't have that private screening 5 months in advance. But yeah, we just wanted to talk about this. Me and Donnie had a Marvel marathon of our own where we have watched all the movies leading up to Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, we did.
We broke it down from March to April, about 2 movies a week, some with 3, and we're ready to just talk Marvel. I do want to start off, Donnie. I know we both didn't start watching Iron Man. Like, we didn't start in 2008, and we watched ever since. We kind of, in some extent, late to the game.
Right.
In some ways. But I do want to just start by briefly asking, what do you like about the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Jeez Louise. I mean, the fact that, it is a very, not to say like, oh, it's like all made up, but I mean, it's like anything goes in the MCU. It's like, I just feel like there's like the sky is the limit. And I love just being able to just get lost. What I love about the films, it's like, yeah, they're superhero films and they take place in like different, some of the films take place, like a lot of them take place like not on Earth or in different, galaxies or different otherworldly dimensions. But I feel like they handle it with such care and such detail, and they invest so much time into it. And they really, even though we're like, for instance, in Thor, when we're like taking Asgard, there are still things about it that still seem so real and kind of realistic that it's not so out of touch with reality. Like some films that are like, oh my gosh, this is like so fantasy, so fairy tale, so made up. But I feel like with MCU films, they always inject like realness into it. So it kind of makes it seem like it could happen or it could be possible, even though it's not. But that's what I love about the MCU films. Okay. It's like, maybe this really could happen. Maybe Iron Man could swoop down and like save me.
Oh, you can be a tech genius and create an armor.
Right.
That would work. Me personally, coming from a comic book fan perspective, I wasn't a Marvel fan, so I wasn't one that's like, I know everything Iron Man, Spider-Man. Spider-Man was to some extent, yes, because he was very popular in animation and in other media outside of comics. But I think it's just, to me, the world of comic books is always fascinating because it's this separate world where you kind of set examples of what you see in reality. And it's obviously it's dramatized, or is that even a word?
Yeah.
It's, set in obviously in a fictional setting where, people have powers and, people have this experiences that most likely won't occur, but it's still the stories that you really interact with, or their choices that they make that they have to decide. Marvel does a really great job of grounding the characters to where you kind of can relate to some extent. I think like Spider-Man's a very popular one where you just feel like, his character is a special character that's common, like an ordinary student. Especially, with someone that's loves science, loves math. It's very possible that you can be similar in those shoes. And I find that fascinating to escape into those worlds. And so with comic books, it's easier to read and you have your interpretations of how things go down. But with the movies, you're watching it play out, and it's really fascinating to watch it play out, especially as we built up, the stories and the characters, and we've seen them for 10 years. That it's in the same way that if you were a comic book fan, you've been reading The Flash since 1980, and here we are in 2010. I know you're through a DC comic character in there. I had to.
Yeah. We're not in that universe. We're in.
I know. I mean, I just had to. But it's that sense and that same build of like you've been reading this character for so many years, and sometimes they have a big epic storyline. So I think it's really fascinating. I'm excited for everyone that's not a comic book fan to really enjoy these, because if you're a comic book fan, you know the excitement of these stories already. They're based off the comics, so you know what's going on. But for everyone that's not aware of it, and they finally get to be in this world and join us and in the excitement, like Infinity War. I mean, there were so many characters, Donnie. I'm sure you like have a care for. Like, I'm sure like back in 2008, if I was like, oh, you're gonna have a talking tree and a raccoon, you might be like, that sounds dumb.
Right.
But here we are, and you actually care about Groot and Rocket.
Right, and that's what I love, just to kind of backtrack on what you said. Like, that's what I love about the MCU as well, is because, like, I wouldn't consider myself a comic book fan. Like, I didn't read comic books. I didn't, the only times I ever, like, knew about new characters or new superheroes was when the films came out. Or, like, I didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were until Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and that's where I learned about it. But that's what I love, I think, is the genius of the MCU is it appeals to everyone. Like, whether you're a diehard superhero comic book fan or not, I think it can, like, reach everyone, like, such a wide audience. And it does, the films themselves do, I think, such a solid, great job at explaining who these characters are, kind of where they come from, give us their origins, their backstory, and help us become more emotionally invested in all these characters, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I honestly feel like I know it's one thing like to be interested in reading, and I know not everyone reads, so I feel like this is just a great way for people to still find these characters, because Marvel is now part of Disney. There's a lot more merchandise being sold, and it's awesome to see people wearing, Captain America shields and, Iron Man mask, and like kids wearing those heroes that normally weren't merchandised because they weren't reading the comics. Like right. Iron Man was about a C to a B list character. He was never really a main power in the Marvel comics. It was always X-Men, Spider-Man, even Captain America to an extent was not as like, popular as he is right now. So it's exciting. It's really exciting. I do have to ask, I'm sure everyone wants to know, favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is there one, Donnie, that you go out to and say he's my favorite?
Yeah, I mean, without hesitation, Iron Man is just my favorite.
Taking to the first one.
Taking it back to where it all began. I think that's partly why he's my first one, because he was I'm sorry, I don't know what I just said. What I meant to say was I think that's why he's my favorite one, because he was the first one introduced to us. And I feel like, I mean, he's definitely one, too, that's like made like the most cameos throughout all the MCU films, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I feel like you just get, like, I feel like I know him. Like, he's a part of my life.
For 10 years?
For 10 years. And I just, I mean, do you want me to tell you why I love him? Like, why
if you want favorite? To.
I mean, I don't want to, like, ramble on here, but, like, I love a lot of things about him. I love that. I feel like it's very awesome that it's not like he was born with, like, superhuman abilities. It's not like Thor or,
Captain America,
yeah.
Spider-Man, who was given these like.
Well,
gifts,
yeah, I mean they were given those abilities, or like the Hulk. It's like he literally relies on his technology. Well, I like to say his brains, obviously his intelligence and his knowledge of technology, and how he can use that to his advantage, which I think is awesome. I think it's really I mean, I think there's something to be said about you like basically standing next to like, these people, these beings with superhuman capabilities, and and you're fighting a lot of villains that are like unworld, like not of this world, but yet you're still like you're risking your life, even though like yes, your technology and your suits are a part of what make you this superhero, but I feel like there's something to be said about that, because it's like he could have been like, what, I'm just a man, I'm mortal, like I can't really stand up to like Thanos, or I can't stand up to these villains that are not of this world. But he's like, he didn't. He's like, no, I'm gonna fight the fight. So I really like that. I think that's really awesome.
Was Iron Man the first movie you saw, or like, I know personally, Iron Man was not the first movie I saw.
No, Iron Man wasn't the first. No, the Hulk was the first. The Incredible Hulk was the first one I saw.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I'm trying to
saw that in theaters. And, yeah.
Because I missed the Iron Man movies in theaters. I didn't see them in theaters. I think...
Yeah, I don't even think I saw any of the Iron Man movies in the theaters.
I think Captain America was my first one. No, you know what? I think Thor was my first one.
Really?
I think Thor was my first... Because I remember seeing Thor and then seeing Captain America and then getting excited for Avengers, but then I was like, I need to watch Iron Man and Iron Man 2. The Incredible Hulk, I think I saw like after it was like on like DVD. Like, I don't think I saw it in theaters, but like those first three I had to catch up on.
Yeah, The Incredible Hulk actually like got me into it. Like I said, I didn't grow up like reading comics or anything, but like I went and saw that movie with my family, and at first I was like, I'm not dying to see this film. And then I was like, I left the theater buzzing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And kind of.
So did you? I don't know. I mean, it's not to make you recollect, but do you remember the post-credit scene with Tony Stark? And did you go like, oh, wasn't he an Iron Man? Did you get that?
I don't think I like put two and two together at that point.
Okay.
So yeah, it didn't make much sense to me, but yeah, I mean, eventually, like when I obviously went back and rewatched it, and I was like, oh yeah, but no, like at the time, it didn't really do much for me.
Okay, all right. My favorite character.
Oh wait, can I say? I forgot to say something this too. I also just like the It's really interesting because I always kind of say like people that I like, that I personally like, are like people that are humble and don't have a huge ego, or I always say like, oh, people that are like cocky and arrogant, I don't really care for. And Tony Stark definitely like is arrogant and cocky at times and has a big ego, which is really interesting to me, because I would based on just that, I would assume that I wouldn't be gravitated towards him, but I guess he makes up for it in other ways. And you do see times where he does like kind of leave his ego at the door and just is humbled by some experience bigger, or by someone around him. So but I do like his attitude. He has a swagger. I like his just kind of bluntness I think that's one of the things I really am gravitated towards too, like his just kind of boldness, and just kind of doesn't really filter, or doesn't kind of premeditate what he's gonna say, or if it is the right thing to say,
And this is coming. I just want to ask: is this coming from the movies you've seen him in, like all the things he's building up to Infinity War? Or are you just talking about still the first Iron Man? That this is where?
Oh no, I was saying like all. Oh, now okay. I'm talking about all the films he's been in.
Okay, like all the just okay.
But, yeah.
All right. So, yeah. Well, we'll get into more detail of like where we got to, like where we're at, but my favorite character is Captain America. Just for that, like, heroism that he presents of, he wants to do the right thing. He needs to do what is best for the country, and fighting for that. Very military style mindset to some extent. But I really liked his relationship with his other characters, where he's not necessarily saying I'm the better one. He's just saying I know what I can do and I want to help, and I feel like that's awesome. He just wants to do the right thing, has that like just morals and willing to sacrifice himself for the greater good, and all that things that you really just like, man, you look in the mirror and you're just like, would I crash a plane and freeze to death and probably end my life there? I don't know if I'll do all that. And as we grew with him, it's like he started to see how back in his time was completely different than modern times, and like that conflicting thing of like what's the right choice at this point. I love his line in Winter Soldier, this isn't freedom, this is fear, because I feel like that's a lot of what that's very like relevant to our audience now. But yes, Captain America is definitely my favorite hero. Which I do want to ask, not to say villain or anything like that, but the conversation about villains, Marvel villains, is that they've been very formulaic. Is that the word?
Formulated?
Like they're very, like, you know that they're gonna they want that I want to take over the world. They have that big plan, and they don't execute it well. They try to be intimidating, but eventually you're just like, you're gonna lose. You know they're gonna lose, which is why Thanos has this like difference. Like, you feel Thanos is actually a legitimate threat versus all these movies. It's more of like oh, I'm just gonna be the one stopping you today, Captain America. And you're just like, you never really felt like, oh, you really are gonna stop Captain America. What is your thoughts on the villains? Like, is there any like villains that you really enjoyed in the movie? Not necessarily like you felt was a great villain with the powers or anything like that, but was there any like specific villains that you were just like, that was a really, really good villain?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the obviously the two that come to mind, and I'm sure that come to many people's minds, and they're kind of referred to as like, there's always the debate like who is the better villain, but like Loki and then Killmonger. I think those two villains were great for. Those two villains were great.
They were so scary and intimidating.
Yeah, I mean,
personally, Loki is like, he gets credit because there's been a lot of development with him. Like, we've seen him in multiple films.
Yeah.
But honestly, I never, like, Avengers was the only time I felt he was to an extended threat. But like, his appearances never felt like an actual like villain to me. He always felt like a tragedy.
Yeah.
And he just made the bad choice because he thought it would help him like feel good, and to some extent, like,
I think it's the same thing with Killmonger too. It's like a walking tragedy. It's not even like you're villainous and I want to see you defeated. I want to see you, like suffer or like whatever. It's kind of like you in a way sympathize with them slightly, because like even though they are the villains that were straight up like, I just want to defeat you, I want power, like the Abomination in Incredible Hulk, Whiplash in Iron Man 2, Ultron in Avengers, Age of Ultron. Yeah.
Coincidentally, the title and the
villain.
But like,
the name.
Like those villains, I forgot, I'm losing the name of the villain in Doctor Strange, but like those villains just had that straight, I want to do damage, I want to do bad.
Or what was the one from Thor Ragnarok?
Which, Hela?
Yeah.
The girl?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
just straight up, like, just evil.
Yeah.
Where
like,
you want to see them.
And it's like, I get what their intention is for in a movie. Like, their intention is to put a challenge to the superhero to the point where the superhero has to come out on top despite this new adversity or this new villain that's, trying to switch it up. I think one great example that was like a good one was Winter Soldier, prior to like finding out like who he is, and like he felt like a legit threat that Black Widow was scared in Winter Soldier. Like he was telling Captain America, like, dude, like this guy is legit scary. Like, we don't see him much, and if he's out, it's because he has a mission or something like that. So like, yeah, like the villains have had that problem. Thanos is supposedly going to be different because he's going to actually have this power that requires all these heroes to join together. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if we have a care for him, or if he's just another, standee.
I can't imagine we would. I mean, like, what's his motive?
Well, we don't know.
I mean,
we don't know yet. I'm sure the movie is going to explain his motive. It might be just,
I mean,
when
Gamora was like, he can, destroy half the universe in seconds.
Yes.
I'm just like, and I was just like, well, like in my head, I'm just like, well, why? Like, why does he want to? Or why would he want to? Or
right? Like, that's what we're hoping the movie explains.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know, because the only time we've seen Thanos is post-credit scenes or Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
Which Ronan the Accuser was another bad villain, where it was like all you want to do is destroy one planet. Like,
what? Like, really?
Like, really?
Like, for why, though?
Do you want to go to, like, Kree Heaven? Like, what? So it's interesting. Supposedly, Thanos will change it all. Supposedly, there's going to be a reason why he wants to do this that we're supposed to understand. Obviously, we don't want to root for him.
Right.
In the same way that we may have found ourselves a little bit cheering for, Killmonger and Loki a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember Thor in The Dark World when Loki revealed himself to be Odin, and you're just like, he's still alive. Like that.
Yeah.
I remember that experience.
He's still at it.
Like, it was just like, he got me again. But I don't know. I'm just like, I don't see him as a villain anymore. Like, when I see him on screen, which there is, I mean, we're just speculating here because we're going based off trailers and stuff. We only see him in one scene in the trailers that they show, and that's with the Tesseract that he's showing. We're assuming to Thanos. So he might be on that one scene. He might actually die. He might actually be the end of Loki in Infinity War.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to cause some tears from you, Donnie.
I would feel like, I would feel some kind of way about it. I wouldn't be like, yeah, that's what he gets or anything like that. I think I would be more like, no, like,
no more.
You don't
movies.
understand his pain.
Or is it no more movies with Tom Hiddleston? Like, is that what the upset is going to be? We'll see about that. That's going to be an interesting thing. We're going to see if Thanos does actually top the movie Marvel villains. We'll see if that.
I mean, like, who was your, like, I mean, not say favorite villain, but like, what was one that you think Marvel got it right with that one?
That's a tough one. Because Baron Zemo, who was in Civil War, the bad guy that was putting everything together, I loved what he was doing to the team because he actually was causing internal conflict with the team, with the Avengers. Not to say that I found him like an interesting villain. I just loved how he was able to succeed on his like plan. And it wasn't like he was like, I want to take over the world. He was just like, I really just want you guys to
implode,
like see the truth or the secrets you guys are hiding, kind of like, yeah, exactly, implode. So he was interesting, but in terms of like villain that I don't know if there really is one. Star-Lord's dad was just like, you're selfish. I feel like that was a little, like I could see that being a little too close for like absent father, families, where it's just like, feels like you're just making a selfish decision, abandoning a family. So I don't know if that. I don't know.
I mean, it was that one. I mean, he was really likable at first, and then you found out like what he did.
Yeah.
Like, and then it was
killed
like
your mom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Once he said yeah.
Killmonger. I really liked him as a villain. I just felt how he got his plan in action, like how he executed it, was just questionable. That's the biggest thing. Ulysses Claw, I think now that I'm talking about Black Panther, I think that was my favorite villain because he was
out of all the movies.
Yeah. So he had his little part in Age of Ultron and in Black Panther. Hate to see that he died so quickly, but I felt he was unpredictable, and that's scary when you're unpredictable. As a villain, when you're unpredictable, that is scary. And like I think the greatest example was with Heath Ledger. Yeah. Performance and story wise, it was just like you don't know what he's gonna do, and that's what's
like
scary.
There's no rhyme nor reason to their actions,
right?
Which is
well, I mean, Ulysses Claw had a little bit more of like his reasoning, like he wanted vibranium, he wanted to sell it, like he had his like things, but what he was willing to do that was unpredictable to some extent. So I thought I guess that might be the villain that I wish I could see more of, or at least a full movie as a bad guy of, because I really loved like his scenes in Black Panther. I hated that Killmonger was like, I'm the bad guy now. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Look at me, I'm the captain now.
Well,
pretty much,
right. But yeah, so I guess that would be my Ulysses Claw. Great performance by Andy Serkin too. So
Yeah.
I can't hate on that. But villains. So now that we got villains out of the way, 18 movies that we saw, Donnie, in 2 months. 18 movies we saw.
That's insane.
Do you?
I mean,
feel...
not that we like watched them for the first time, but yes, that we rewatched. For me, it was my first time for a couple of them.
See, given that we have this vast amount of characters and stuff, what is one thing you want Avengers: Infinity War to deliver on with these characters? And I ask that not in the sense like, do you want to see, you know, Spider-Man get new superpower? Not in the sense of like, what do you want to see from them, but like, do you want to see these characters like just mesh well with each other while staying true to who they are? Do you want like Star-Lord to still be Star-Lord when he's with Iron Man? Or do you feel like you want more of like an epic battle where they're, you know, it's really like a full-on comic book splash where you see all the heroes, you know, fighting one big bad villain? Like, what is, with these characters that you care for, what do you want to see in Avengers: Infinity War?
I think I'm just really excited to see just the simple interactions amongst them, like that we've never seen before. For instance, like in the trailer, like you see, you know, Spider-Man talking to Doctor Strange, and like, you know, there's that joke like, oh, we're using our real names now. Oh, well, you're Doctor Strange. Well, I'm Spider-Man, you know, or like those, like, I just want to see those moments, or like Gamora talking, you know, telling Iron Man about Thanos, and like, just seeing those interactions. It's like so cool, because it's like, you know, for the most part, you've seen a lot of, like, I think with Avengers and then Captain America Civil War, like you've seen a lot of, we've had a lot of those interactions already, but like we haven't seen, like, you know, the Guardian, like Star-Lord talking to Tony Stark, or, you know, things like that. Like, I'm excited to see. Yeah, I'm excited to see those interactions. And yes, obviously the epic battle. I want to see them all work together and see which part everyone is going to play, you know, how they're going to strategize against Thanos. And but I'm also really excited for just like those simple moments where it's just like they're kind of, you know, and I hope they do like kind of give them time to not saying give them time to get to know one another, but like hopefully they show a lot of the, like, the first meetings, you know, amongst all of them, you know, like, oh, you know, Thor, this is Groot, this is Thor, you know, something like that.
A talking tree.
Like, yeah, you know, and just like little jokes and things like that. I mean, I'm really excited for.
I personally, I love how Marvel has set this up, because this is very similar to crossover events in comic books, where you know them individually, you know their own stories, their own like character universe, where, you know, they have supporting characters like Spider-Man and Mary Jane, you know, Tony Stark, Pepper Potts, who I think is actually going to be in Infinity War, I think. But like, you know, those like supporting characters of their own universe, you know, in their own time, you know, their own villains, you know, Spider-Man has these like list of villains that are going to come one day to try to defeat him. But when they come together, I personally just want to see them being used wisely, and like used to an extent that they make sense of being there. I don't want to see, well, I'm hoping not to see like Thor coming down to, you know, fight Thanos, but then Thanos traps him, and now it's like up to just like Spider-Man, and, you know, like I don't want to see them just being in there because it's 10 years and, you know, the part of the history. I want to hope that they have a reason. So I want to make sure that these characters have something to do with the fight, not just like I want to see Groot come up with a device that can stop Thanos or can stop the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm not. I know that if you're a comic fan, you're probably like, that's never gonna happen. Like, I'm not saying like I want to see specifically that, but like the idea of like those kinds of things where what they were really well for in their own movies, to bring it into this movie. Like for like Black Widow, I only expect her to be a great fighter. Like, I don't want to see her telling, you know, Black Panther, we need to do this, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Or I only expect her to be, you know, fighting, you know, like one of Thanos's, like, minions alone, or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Like,
not like it's going to be like she's fighting Thanos himself.
Right. I want to, you know, and I know, for example, the two great leaders that can lead the team, Black Panther and Captain America. Like, I know they have that natural instinct to lead. So
Iron Man does too.
well,
He's a good leader.
Oh gosh, Civil War right here. Me and Donnie. I'm like, no, Cap leads. No, but he's not. That's not Iron Man's thing. Iron Man has been more set up for being able to use his technology to help the team. Like he's been that. I don't want to say cheerleader. He's not a cheerleader, but he definitely in the recent movies that we've seen in like Avengers, Age of Ultron. Like you see him just making sure all his. I was gonna say cast members. He's seeing his teammates just have the right equipment or better equipment.
Right.
Like he had like Captain America now have the shield that like comes back to him magnetically instead of like him having to go grab it. Mm-hmm. Like those small little things that I want to see. I mean, I just want to see Hulk smash. I just want to,
Hulk smash.
I do not want to see Hulk having a conversation about like, I don't know. Like I know he can talk in Thor Ragnarok. He actually was able to develop talking and like genuine thoughts and not just, sound effects. Mm. But I don't know if I want to see him really talk. I know Bruce Banner. Yes, Bruce Banner I want to see interact with Tony Stark and with Shuri and actually being scientists, like actually talking, because that's what they're good at. But I don't want Doctor Strange. And like I don't want Doctor Strange trying to tell everyone what to do when it doesn't feel like that's like his role. Mm-hmm. In the same way, like I don't want to see Spider-Man running away from the battle. Like Spider-Man doesn't. He goes and he's willing to stand up to whoever's in his way or who that was causing mayhem. So I'm hoping that they're not like this is a carefully thought out movie by the Russo brothers.
I would hope so.
I'm
sure. Like no pressure, but there's pressure.
Right, exactly. Like I don't want the Guardians just to come down and like do their little fight and they defeat Thanos. Like I want to make sure Thanos is actually a threat that okay. Star-Lord wants to team up with Tony because he needs Tony's devices to like I want to see that's kind of like cohesive, at least for this first Avengers. Mm-hmm. Like Avengers 1 and 2, it was the same team except Avengers 2 just added 3 people, one that died, R.I.P. Quicksilver. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to still see that development grow. And we also know that Tony and Captain America are not on the best terms. They kind of
I'm sure they'll squash their beef.
But do you want them to squash the bees? Like I know they can put aside their differences for something bigger, but
I mean, yeah, why you don't want them to squash the beef?
Like you think like you can just be like good with me if I held the secret of like I knew who killed like someone important to you?
Yeah, no, I mean I definitely think they're gonna. I feel like if they would. I mean they'll for sure address it. I'm pretty certain they'll address it. And I mean, who knows? I mean, I just feel like because this is such a big threat, and it's like this is such a monumental like kind of like fight that they have to take on. I feel like it's gonna kind of be like, look, water under the bridge. Like we have.
How about water under the bridge?
We have bigger fish to fry. Or like I'm, whatever. I still feel a certain way about it, but we're not gonna. We gotta work together to stop Thanos.
The closest thing I can think of to that setting that we can relate to is if we're at work and we have that one coworker that, threw me under the bus and said I was the one that didn't turn off the electricity and that's why we got yelled at or something like that. But ultimately, we are working for a job, like a company that we have to produce whatever we're doing. So I think that's probably like the closest thing I can think of that can be like relatable and like like, all right, I hate you for snitching on me, but we got to make this food for these people.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like Tony Stark's going to be like, I understand, Cap, like, I forgive you.
And hug it out.
No, I don't think it's going to be like that. I'm sure they'll...
Who even knows if they're going to even interact? Because what we've seen in the trailers, they're like in 2 different, like, areas. I mean,
imagine they wouldn't.
Obviously, this is the trailer specifically choosing, like, specific scenes that don't spoil the movie, but yeah. I don't know. It feels like as of right now, Iron Man and Captain America are probably not even going to really interact.
We'll see.
We'll see that
in 2 days.
But that's the thing too. That's one thing I wonder. Do they need to all interact? It'd be nice to have them all at one like place at the.
I'm sure not every single character is going to interact with every other single character, but
I feel like those that you can. Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see about that.
I don't think like Rocket's gonna, maybe Rocket and Black Widow won't interact, or like, you know, like
It'd be cool to see though.
Or
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to see all the interactions. I mean, that would be. I mean, that's like how many different permutations of like, you know,
how many characters
interactions we'd have to see. That would be a lot.
Can you imagine Drax like interacting with Black Widow though, and just like in his like how he behaves and how he like throws out his like open-minded thoughts, whatever. I mean, it'd be good laughs.
I don't want to see him interact with Tony. Or yeah, I mean,
I loved like the brief scene that they've shown where I don't know if you've seen the clip where it's more of like when Thor lands on their ship and he's just like, he is not a man, you're a man, like Peter, this is like, no, he's like, you're a dude, this is a man.
I don't know if I caught that one,
but yeah, we can't, I mean, we have to avoid spoilers until we've seen it. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
we're seeing it the first showing. That's gonna be exciting. So we had 3 phases.
Yes,
and I have to ask, out of the phases, which one do you think is crucial for someone who hasn't seen it? So let's just say Ruben's seen the Marvel movies. I'm not saying he hasn't, but let's just say Ruben hasn't seen the Marvel movies. Which phase do you think is the one Ruben should see? Not necessarily to be caught up to Infinity War, but just like to like be like, Ruben, this is a great universe. You should really like watch these set of films in the second, you know, phase 2 or phase 3. What do you feel like would be the best? Because they're different parts. Phase 1 was individual heroes.
Yeah.
That sets up like they're all connected. Mm-hmm. Phase 2 was setting up what happens after these heroes know that they can exist with each other, and like you see their interactions more. And then phase 3 is just the damage, the consequences of having a team of superheroes. So like the themes are set up differently.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, I say the second phase is probably the crucial phase someone should watch. Like, but that's just me.
And we're talking about like before watching Infinity Wars?
Like not even in the sense of like, of just someone that's like, oh, I haven't watched any Marvel movies, you know.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I mean, if you haven't watched any Marvel movies, I mean,
yes, the idea.
Yeah, like you would say watch phase 1, but I feel like you can get a sense of, you can figure out who these characters still are with phase 2 or phase 3. I mean, I would say phase 2 probably would be the most, because
phase
like,
3
crucial.
can get complicated if you haven't seen the previous like ones.
Yeah.
And like phase 1,
like I don't think, phase 3 goes in a little deeper, but I feel like phase 2 is still, you still get you're getting the general senses still. Like I feel like they still do a good job of like, kind of like, if like I said, if you haven't seen like, you know, the first, you know, 2 Iron Man films or whatever, like you can still get a sense of who Tony Stark is, and kind of, you know, and his origins in Iron Man 3 or whatever, you know.
And personally, I've always felt that the origin story is not necessarily the starting point for someone to like go into it. And if you think about it, a lot of movies, a lot of books, a lot of, you know, things that you're a fan of, they don't always start from like the very beginning of how everything takes place. Or yes, there are a good amount of that do, but I feel like phase 2 delivers straight into these stories that are interesting. My favorite is in phase 2, The Winter Soldier, Captain America. So I feel like that story is great. Thor 2, The Dark World, is the only one that's, I'm like, the story in itself isn't bad, but I can see where it can falter, you know, fall on a little bit down on the favorites. Age of Ultron has a great technology, you know, what can we do? What can happen to technology to, you know, against us kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I feel like the stories were a little bit more interesting than they were in phase 1. Phase 1 is just more of like, how did this hero become? Watch phase 1. And then phase 3 is like jumping into like book 4 of Harry Potter, but you didn't read the first 3. So I feel like phase 2 is like ideally the point. But if you want to see Infinity War, you have to watch R18. Sorry, there's no cut about that one.
And with phase 2, you still get like, I mean, you have the first Guardians film and the Ant-Man film, so it's like,
that's true.
It's not like you're completely out of the loop with every superhero. Like you do get the, you know, those. Well, I was gonna say those 2, but you get the Guardians kind of where they come from. and Ant-Man, like how he came to
and
be
you get
Ant-Man.
and you get Captain America and Black Widow in that movie, and you get introduced to the Winter Soldier. So it's a great starting point. And if you really need to see the origins, then watch Phase 1.
Right.
I would think that would be the best. So we're down to the final question, Donnie. This is the most intensive question. I hope you planned for it. I gave you 5 weeks notice. What is
That
your...
is not true, but okay.
What is your favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that so far before seeing Infinity War? Because that may change with Infinity War, but before that, what do you consider your favorite that you would immediately want to go watch again or tell someone to watch? Mine's is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, because it's the best. That elevator scene.
It was a good one. That was a really good one. That's hard. I mean,
theory.
they're all really good ones, and obviously everyone's gonna have their favorite film, but
we want Donnie's.
I know, and it's probably just gonna be. I mean, honestly, I'm a pretty like loyal Iron Man fan, and I just like take it back to where it all began. 2008, when the first MCU film was released, Iron Man, the first one. And I know we've come a long way since then, visually and storyline and characters, and I know people were like, "What? That's your favorite one?" But I mean, that's where I thought it was when I first saw that movie. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like it was great. It was great. Sorry, I don't know how to like express my
which
my
is fine.
here.
You don't have to go into detail. Just saying your favorite Marvel movie.
It's a hard question. I really don't like that you're asking me that question because they're all so good for.
I mean, I didn't ask you to rank them. That would have been
that would have been tough. That would have been tough. But I mean,
we don't have time for that one.
Winter Soldier was a really good one. Iron Man 2 and 3 I love too. Like I thought those were such good films. I know you weren't crazy on Iron Man 3, but
and 2.
Wow.
Iron Man.
Captain America was my least favorite. We can say that much.
Iron Man, the first Iron Man was really good. That's definitely in my high favorites of Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, I mean, I have quite a few. Like when we saw Doctor Strange again, and even Spider-Man, I actually got a little bit more appreciation of their movies the second time we saw them versus the first time. I think I enjoyed Doctor Strange's just personality a little bit more. At first, I was so caught up in the magic, and I was like, dude, you're trying to learn sorcery to fix yourself. That sucks. You must be in pain and shaking. And
I liked that. I felt like that was such a different one from maybe that's why I hadn't seen it at first, because I remember when that movie came out and I was like. I remember I was kind of like, really? Benedict Cumberbatch? You guys are casting him as... I wasn't crazy about that casting choice. Not that I don't like him personally, or personally. I know him. We hang out all the time. No, not that I don't like him as an actor, but I just didn't know how to feel about that. And then it was kind of, like you said, tying into the mystic arts and sorcery, and I was like... I was like, that's different. That's kind of different. It's a different ingredient. It's a different flavor profile you got going on. But
I watch it be a very crucial thing.
But it was really, that was a good movie. Visually, it was beautiful.
Yeah, all those the world turning and
all those it was crazy.
And you didn't see Spider-Man Homecoming because you also felt it was too soon.
I felt like it was way too soon. I was still on Andrew Garfield being Spider-Man and loved him in the Spider-Man films. And then it's now you're giving me this skinnier, younger looking, Spider-Man, and I'm like, dude, it's too soon. So then I kind of protested that one.
All the way up until you had to see it.
Until I had to see it, and but it was good too. That was not my favorite MCU film, but it was a good one. It's a solid one.
I loved Spider-Man's personality in that one. I think that's probably what won me over in the second viewing, was just Spider-Man himself, not the plot or anything, just his interaction with Karen, and how he was just a kid thinking he was doing the big things, and you had Iron Man was like I get what you're trying to do, but stop.
It was kind of like he was an eager puppy.
Yeah. So that was good. And then you saw Pepper Potts.
Yeah. Woo! I was so happy to see her.
I'm nervous about I mean, just to wrap it up. I am nervous for an Infinity War, just because it's like we don't know what's gonna happen. We know there's another Avenger movie coming out, but if Thanos is legit a threat, there has to be consequences. It cannot be where only one hero dies. It can't be a repeat of Age of Ultron. Let me say that, because Age of Ultron, I didn't feel like it was a threat. Like, the trailers did make me feel like scared of Ultron, and like that first scene when he first comes out, I'm like, oh, this guy is serious. But then like he lost that like threatening, intimidating factor as the movie progressed. And I think it was more because he was relying on others to like help him out or forcing them to help him out. But I'm hoping like this one is one where it's like, is this the last time you see Black Widow? Is this the last time we see Iron Man?
That sucks. I mean, I get what you're saying. You definitely want, like, I don't want an empty threat, you know? I don't want, like, them to hype it up like Thanos is going to be the end-all, be-all, and there's going to be some serious repercussions from him, and then we walk away and, like, nobody died.
Or they introduce a new person, right, and that's like, the only person that dies.
I mean, personally, I think we would be like, well, at least nobody died. Like, that would be the silver lining of it, but...
It's a spider.
Oh, hello, Mr. Spider.
Spider-Man. We have a cameo.
Podcast. This is where Donnie turns into Spider-Man.
You're reaching out for it.
Yeah, shoot.
What a relevant.
I would do it if I could be Spider-Man. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I don't want to see anybody die, especially. I mean, all these characters. I mean,
but like, once you walk away, if no one dies, aren't you gonna walk away with like, what was like? It was fun.
But... I mean, but we know another film's coming, so it's like if nothing dire happens in this one,
it depends on how this one ends. Yeah,
yeah,
that absolutely is for sure. Like a big factor.
I don't think we're gonna walk away like Thanos is defeated. That's it. Like,
well, no, he's confirmed to be in the fourth one.
Yeah,
so for sure he's not. This isn't the end of him,
but it might be the end.
But it might be the end of some other heroes. People. That's just it has to be. I'm hoping that it's one of those, like, I know, and I'm just like saying this because as comparison, but I think Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows,
Harry Potter,
the book, or even like leading up to the final book, like Dumbledore died in the one before it. Like, characters were actually dying, and it wasn't like they were dying but coming back in the next one, even though Dumbledore did, but that wasn't the point. Like, he wasn't a factor in the movie at all, like in the book. But like in the seventh one, when Voldemort was actually like attacking, like people were dying. Characters you've read in the earlier books were dying. Like Ron's brothers were dying, and this is not a spoiler for Harry Potter because that movie has been out since like 2012.
Watch us have like one of the biggest up and coming Harry Potter fans. It was like, I was gonna watch that one.
I mean, we can't stop that. We don't know. Yeah. I think we need to enter in the beginning. There's going to be Harry Potter spoilers.
I know, right?
Not Marvel spoilers. But yeah, so I mean, like, that was one where it's like you were watching this accumulation of these characters you knew, and you knew not everyone was getting out of it alive. Well, you were saying not everyone was getting out of it alive. And that made it scary to not know if your character was going to survive, to the point where you didn't know if Harry was going to survive after the book.
Mm-hmm.
So those things like that are important to me in this movie, given that they're not setting this up just like another Avengers movie. If this was like the same promotion with Age of Ultron, then I can be like, okay, I'm not gonna expect that. But the fact that they're trying to tie this into like, this is what we've been building up to, that Thanos was teased in Avengers, and you saw him in Guardians, and then you saw him like finally say, all right, my turn at the end of Age of Ultron. So it's like, you can't put the bases loaded, and
yeah, I feel like even too, like, I mean, even hearing like Nick Fury's voice in the trailer, like there was an idea of a group of remarkable people or whatever he said.
I was like, oh damn, this guy.
A group of remarkable people.
I was like, whoa, Donnie remembered this.
Coming together.
Did his research for this podcast.
It was something like that, but like even that just sets the tone for how epic and how epic this is gonna be.
Even watching Captain America with Thanos' hand and like stopping it. He's a big guy.
Mm-hmm. Huge
guy. You know who I'm not, and I'll say this just real quick. You know who I'm not expecting to have much of an impact in this movie?
Oh.
no one, because I expect everyone else. Just kidding. No, honestly, I personally, just given what I've seen, I honestly don't see Winter Soldier having a big impact in this movie. Because I feel like his story is almost like his story is practically done. Like, he's going to be an ally for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't really feel like there's anything more that he can add to it. So maybe he might die. Makes sense. He's his mind is clear. Steve thinks he's all good. He's like, we're good now. I fixed my
That would
friend.
make sense, because it's like we've kind of seen him, go like overcome this kind of like, evil brainwashing like thing he was under, and like, how he was like, Captain America stood up for him, and all this happened, and now he's like kind of at a place where he's like good, and he's like, okay, I'm like, he's his own person again and ready to do the right thing, and then I could see them killing him.
Right.
Like, that totally would. It wouldn't like blindside me.
Sounds like a studio plan. Like,
Yeah.
set him up to care for him, and then boom.
Take them on a journey with him.
And then Tony smiles just a tad, because I was like,
Tony wouldn't do that.
Got a representative spokesperson for Tony here now.
Tony would go to Captain America and be like, I'm really sorry about your friend, and Captain America would be like, no, you're not.
I'm gonna laugh. I'm just gonna laugh if that's not what he does. After you're just over here stating his like defense.
I'm gonna laugh when he does do that.
I'm gonna laugh when he dies.
Who, Captain Iron Man?
Iron Man. I'm gonna look at you and be like, ha ha ha.
They're not gonna do it. They won't kill him.
Who knows?
He's the largest face on the poster, so
that's true. Makes sense though to end it. But this is it, Donnie. We watched 2 months worth of 18 movies.
Yeah, this is it.
This is it.
Michael Jackson.
Avengers: Infinity War. We're gonna be covering this movie when we do our next review next week. So we hope everyone tunes in for that one. We hope
there's still time. There's still time, guys. If you haven't seen any of the MCU films,
there's still time.
There's still time. You got 2 days.
Well, no, this is coming out on Thursday. The movie's out, Donnie.
Well, I'm not saying for them to go watch every single film. I'm saying if there's a couple of films they haven't seen.
Oh, got it.
Time.
To catch up. Got it.
Get on my thought train here.
I'm right there on there. You know what? Okay. You know what train I'm on?
What?
I'm on a giveaway train.
Ooh, okay. What you giving away?
I'm gonna give this our very first merchandise for the Reel-ists podcast. A magnet. I know that it probably didn't deliver. Like, it probably could have been like a mug, or it probably been like sold it high, a car. But no, we have officially created our magnets that we would love to give out to our listeners. And Donnie, how do you feel it's best to give it to them? You want to explain that?
No, I'll let you explain it.
Okay. I was trying to throw you in here.
No, I don't need to. Go ahead. You got it.
We are asking all of our listeners to just comment on any movie that we've reviewed, that we've posted on Instagram, or in our podcast as well. We just want to get a comment from you, just to say what your thoughts on the movie was that you listened to. And we really just want to get feedback on that. All you need to do is just put a hashtag. I don't think we even set up the hashtag. Did we set it up? We'll set it up in our Twitter, but I'm assuming it's going to be something very similar.
Just make one up.
Well, should we just, Donnie, make it up. Contribute to this. Make up the hashtag someone should tweet, or not tweet, someone should add at the end of their comment. We're not moving this podcast until you answer that.
Well, it has to be something specific.
Hashtag realist giveaway. How's that?
Sure.
Is that too long?
Doesn't already exist. I'm already running out of battery, so I can't check.
Logistics. We didn't check the logistics of this.
Why not? Team Reel-ists giveaway? I don't know.
Yeah. Or Team Reel-ists GA. That way they don't have to type in giveaway. Team Reel-ists giveaway sounds a lot. Like, my character's only 140, guys.
I want that magnet.
Should we go with Team Reel-ists giveaway?
Yeah, let's do that.
Team Reel-ists giveaway. So all you have to do is on any of our platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just simply comment whatever comment you have about that movie and put the hashtag Team Reel-ists giveaway, and we're gonna select 5 random people that did this, that participated, and we'll be giving them our first magnet. Should we show them the magnet on our social media? I don't know. Should we make the surprise? We will. Okay, we will show our magnet so you guys can see what it is. It's gonna be awesome. This is the opportunity to just say thank you to everyone that's listening. We don't have 10 years in our books like Marvel, but
we'll get there.
we'll hopefully get there.
Maybe.
But we definitely just want to show appreciation, and this is gonna be our first way. We might be doing more, so hopefully, we can get more listeners to join us and want to participate in conversations with us. But, someone calling someone? I'm calling someone, guys. I'm not ready for this. We're having a live comment feed here. I didn't know I could do that.
Who are you calling?
My cousin with my watch.
Oh.
I took off my watch and apparently I called someone. But, yes, so please go ahead and participate in this giveaway.
Yes.
We just want to the main thing, just want to see what you guys' interaction on the movies are. Any of our movies that we talked about from our podcast. And we want to know where you listen to. We just want to get to know you guys.
We just want to know more about you guys.
Right. So definitely participate. It will be starting this Thursday. So the release of these episodes. And it will close next Thursday. Or actually next Wednesday. And we'll announce the winners on the Thursday episode. If you want your name to be provided, or we'll say your screen name or whatever you want us to go with. So we will disclose that part of it. We'll work with you. We'll work with the winners. But yes, so from Thursday, April 26th, all the way to the end of day, Wednesday, May 2nd?
Yeah.
May 2nd, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one comment. You can do more if you want. No limit on that. One comment followed by the hashtag Team Reel-ists Giveaway. We'll see how this works. It's our first one. Bear with us, guys. Yeah. I don't know if we've gone through legal to go through hoops to do a giveaway. But yes, for our first magnet, you can be one of the first to have a Team Reel-ists magnet. Maybe we won't make this magnet
in years
anymore.
to come. This magnet's going to be worth a lot.
Right.
Of money.
Who knows if we make this
is
magnet.
going to be like a collector's item.
Right. That'd be awesome. So that's going to be our giveaway. Definitely tune in. Thank you guys for listening to this special episode as we recapped Marvel.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.